Good. What's going on, Pudding?
Everything, and nothing at the same time.
That's what's up. I'm so happy we finally got you on camera because we've been talking about this for a minute.
I mean, because everything has been going
That
on.
is truly, truly the truth because you was a busy woman. I love it. So what's okay, first of all, let's introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, where you been, where you're going. Let's talk about all of it.
That's a very loaded question. Like
It
me
is.
answering that
It
one
is.
question will take up the whole interview.
Well, let's go for it.
Are you serious? You're not serious. Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Vanessa Abron. I am a multi-hyphenated individual. Professionally, I've worked in the realms of marketing,
Okay.
and public relations. Um, but also I work in the realms of theater, acting, music, dance, and visual arts.
Okay.
So when Dr. Mosey said I was busy, I mean that's there you go. Like, I mean, who does marketing, PR, theater, dance, music, acting every day and not like run out of breath? Like,
Right.
so
A phenomenal person. Because you just wonderful, phenomenal. All right. I love it.
and I'm still trying to get my omega 3s in and get my 10,000 steps and, hydrate and all that good stuff.
Right. Do we want to talk about how you be with the animals and the animals just love you? Do we want to talk about those Snow White and shit?
Stop. No,
Why
no.
not? That's a beautiful thing.
Because that's not the topic. This is called Chicago After Dark.
Girl, hey, that's part of the creation. That's part of humanity. You fully been with the being. So yes. Okay, so let's talk about how you got into the PR world.
How I got into public relations. Interesting. So I can't talk about how I got into public relations without talking about me being an artist. For a long time, I hid the story because it didn't fit the narrative of me being in PR. But now that I'm completely immersed myself back into the arts,
Right.
it complements each other. So technically, in college, I studied business management and the arts. So I have a bachelor's in arts management and a master's in arts management. And my master's is in arts management with a focus in music business. So I had every intention of pursuing a career in music business. As I was just pursuing my career in music business, I ended up working with a music marketing company while I was in grad school,
Okay.
and we did marketing for brands like Def Jam, Bad Boy,
We're gonna
Interscope,
delete that
Virgin
part out.
Records. I mean, but it's part of the story, you know. I don't know about what's going on, but it's part of my story.
Right.
So, and it does shape how I look at music. So it's reality. But I was working in music and, climbing my way up, in marketing and things like that. And then it got to the point where everyone that I started to form relationships with at that time, they started losing their job. People were
Okay.
getting laid off. And I was nervous because I was getting ready to graduate from grad school. And all of my mentors and advocates were losing their job. And I had a fear of, oh my gosh, I'm about to graduate from grad school. And now when people say, so what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
So I had this fear that I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I had a responsibility that I had to do something to make some money. Because what a lot of people don't know, and I think you and I had a conversation about this some time ago, is sometimes people do things and it aesthetically look well, it
Yeah.
aesthetically looks good, but it's not bringing in money. And this is a conversation I've had with a lot of people. And so even though I was working with this marketing company, I got paid some money, but I wasn't like getting paid. But people thought I was getting paid because I was always in the club. I was always rubbing shoulders with celebrities.
Okay.
I knew the DJs. I was able to get into the places. So I had this look that I had it going on, but I
Mhm.
was broke, broke. So when I left that agency, I ended up going into public relations. And how I got into public relations is because a friend of mine that I had at the time, she was like, I think you would do really good in public relations. She was like, I majored in PR and I don't want to do it, but you have the personality that would be really good for public relations.
Okay.
And so when I was in undergrad, I did take news writing and public relations courses. And my teacher at that time also said that I would be good at public relations. And I'll be 100% honest, when that was told to me, I didn't embrace it in undergrad because there were girls at my school that were, and I went to HBCU, I went to Dillard University in New Orleans.
Okay.
And so it's a very small school. And so the girls that were PR majors at the time that I was there, no shade to them now that, we're grown now, we've done different things. But at that time, at that perspective, the lens that I had was the girls who went into PR were stuck up and just didn't have any depth to them. And I didn't associate myself with that. I thought I was cool. I was the girl that did music. I was the girl that did art. If you know me, I'm kind of whimsical, and I just didn't feel like I fit into that PR bubble. So I was like, I'm not doing that. So
Absolutely.
then,
Yeah.
right, right. We laugh now.
Right.
So fast forward, if I'm trying to get into music and things happen, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? So a friend of mine was like, you should go into PR. And I'm like, this is the second time I've heard that. Maybe I should look into that. So I did begin to look into it because it made sense. I was like, well, no matter what I do, PR will make sense. So I went into PR thinking it would be a temporary thing for me.
Hmm.
And so what I did was I joined the Black Public Relations Society. I went to a networking event. And from that networking event, I started to get internships with other PR agencies, more like traditional agencies like Weber Shandwick and, Hill and Knowlton. And working with those, general market agencies, that's how I got into PR. And I just kind of got into it and it just stuck. And so what I thought was going to be temporary ended up being my full-time career for several years. So that's how I got into public
And how
relations.
many years we've been in this?
I think 20 years,
Oh,
20 plus
wow.
years. Yeah, because even with the marketing agency that I work with, even though it wasn't a public relations agency, and even though we didn't do like a lot of media relations, I mean, looking back at it, it still involves some level of public relations
Hmm.
that I had to do working with the artists and things like that. So it definitely complement each other. And then technically, if you want to go back a little bit further, when I was an undergrad, I interned with Atlantic Records also.
Okay.
And part of my job at Atlantic Records was to secure media coverage for the urban artists on the Atlantic Records label with our college media roster.
Okay.
So I had to work with my college newspaper, my college radio station, which was kind of easy because I worked for the college radio and the college newspaper. So
Okay.
and that was, so I was able to make stuff happen. But I started kind of technically in college, even though I wasn't consciously aware that I was doing it.
Okay. So 20 plus years and you are still going strong. That's what's up.
I'm trying to stop, but
No, ma'am, absolutely not. Because you
no,
really,
absolutely.
no,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
understand. We've
Vanessa
had this
wants,
conversation. We've had this conversation, but it seems like you're very good at what you do because I've seen you in action. I've seen, your different projects, so they work out well. But talk about the transition from you doing public relations to more so focusing on who you are, what you want to do with your as a creative, with your music, with your acting and all of that.
and pause, like now I have a position where I'm working with a nonprofit where I'm not doing I do public relations, but public relations is 10% of my job. I'm the marketing manager. So I hate that people keeps I am very annoyed that it's Vanessa in public relations because I think it dismisses everything that I bring to the table.
Correct.
Like I do recognize that for a long time I branded myself as a public relations professional because that's what made me money.
Okay.
But it's also a narrative that I'm trying to escape because because as long as everyone keeps giving me that label, it doesn't give me the wings to allow me to do other things
Okay.
outside of that.
Okay.
So I do get annoyed that I keep getting put into this public relations box,
Mm-hmm.
even when I have a job that says marketing and not public relations. Like my literal job title was marketing director.
Okay.
So I do so much more than public relations, and which is why I say I'm a multi hyphenate.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say how I started getting out of public relations, and even my last corporate job wasn't a 100% public relations job. I was director of communications and community engagement, which did encompass some public relations, but it wasn't all public relations. It was
Okay.
some like working with community partners and things like that nature. A lot of marketing for the department, and but I how I started to get out of public relations was my last 9 to 5 corporate job was 2015. And it was a job that I thought I wanted. It was a job that I prayed for, got it, hated it. Just didn't fit. It just was like, I'm be honest. Can I curse? Can I say
Yes,
this was
ma'am.
it was some bullshit,
Yeah.
it was some bullshit. I will say that it was a job where the job description that I got and the job description that I had to do did not line up. I
Okay.
think the expectations was not aligned. I had a boss that did not honor my strengths, and she just wanted me to, and I tried to work with her in a way to honor my strengths, and she just didn't want to do that. She just wanted me to, and I think I could have done some amazing things within that department had we had a real conversation, but she didn't want to do it. And I don't think I had the balls or the maturity to kind of push for it at
Okay.
that time. So I ended up getting let go from that job. And I was looking for a job, but I was also beginning to like say, like, well, what does it look like if I started my own business?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I thought about that, it felt like it made sense. And when I started my business, I had no desire for it to be 100% public relations.
Okay.
I started with it being public relations because that's what people knew me for. So I was like, well, let me start with something that I have a long resume for, and then let me build upon that. So I started doing freelance public relations. So I was freelancing and looking for a job at the same time. But when I was looking for a job, I was interviewing them at the same time, which is what you're supposed to do. But
Right.
since I had this last job that just did not work out, I now was like, okay, I don't want to be in that situation again. I had very specific questions that I would ask to make sure that I wasn't getting caught up in a rat race I did that did not align with where I was going.
Okay.
So long story short, as I was interviewing, nothing was making sense. And I was going through the rounds and I could have said the things that they wanted me to say to get the job. But after having done that and it not working, I was like, I'm not playing this game anymore. So I finally came to the conclusion, like it's easier for me to find a client that makes sense than for me to get another job. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this entrepreneur thing. I'm gonna give it at least a good year. If it doesn't work out, then I'll um I'll get a job or whatever. And so I gave it my all with the support of my parents at the time, and it started working.
Okay.
But I have to tell that story because even though I started out in public relations, I remember hearing a sermon on TV at the time. Like, because I was, even though I'm like putting on a good face publicly, like I'm a little depressed, I'm a
Right.
little, my ego was crushed. I got let go from a job when I've always shown up with Black excellence and always given my best. I was a gifted child. I made straight A's. I went to Whitney Young High School. Like I've always done well. High GPAs. I've always done well. So now to have been in a job and I didn't do well and I wasn't good enough,
That hit
that
you
was
different.
like, yeah, it was like a gut punch. And
Yeah.
then even though looking back, I can say that losing that job put me on the path to my journey. I didn't know that at the time.
Correct.
So I remember listening to this sermon while I was at home, like just a little depressed. And the pastor said, grab hold of a dream that you once had that you let go of. And he said, don't worry about how you're going to get it, just grab it. And I had never told anyone this, and I'm scared to say it now, but I'll say it. But my goal was to always get a Grammy. I always wanted a Grammy.
Okay.
And and I didn't know how I was going to get it. But that was the project. It was just to hold it and don't worry about how you're going to get it. So I claimed it. I said it out loud. I was like, God, I've always wanted a Grammy. I have done nothing to date that will put me on the path to get a Grammy, but the pastor said to claim it. I'm claiming it. The rest is history.
Right.
So then another thing about it was because I was struggling so much, I had made a prayer to God. I was like, God, I was like, obviously the plan that I had for myself did not work. I was following this formula, this program that everyone said that this is what you're supposed to do to
Hmm.
be successful.
Yep.
And I followed it and it did not work for me. And I was like, so obviously that plan isn't mine. So if my plan isn't mine anymore, and you promise me that your plans are better than any plan that I have for myself, then I need you to direct, like that was my prayer, and it's still my prayer today. Like put me on the path that you want for me.
Right.
And if I'm not on that path, make it loud and clear. I was like, I need you to hit me on the head like a billy club until I get on that path. Like I don't, if I'm not getting it, just make me get it.
Right.
And I felt like God was like, finally. So, um, so it started with building the PR brand. It
Okay.
started with that. I'm doing, PR, but inadvertently, I wasn't trying to. Inadvertently, I started connecting with artists. I can't tell you how, but I started connecting with artists. And as a result of that, having conversations with them, I then decided, oh, let me host an event where we talk about music. So I started doing things where I was connecting music and public relations and communications. And people were like, oh, are you doing this because you're trying to work more with musicians? And I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to work with musicians. Even though I am a musician, I don't want to work with them. We
Wait a
can come
minute.
back
Let's
to
put a pause there. Let's put a pause there. What was your apprehension to working with musicians? And let's be honest, just go ahead and put it out there.
musicians as independents.
Uh-huh.
I would say musicians that have some sort of representation are a little bit easier to work with than an
Okay.
independent musician. As a musician, your level of creativity does involve you to have some sort of bigger ego
Hmm.
than most people, because that's what you need to be forward facing, to cut through the fear of being vulnerable, to showcase your art and creativity.
Okay.
So that is a necessary part of the mindset of being an artist.
Hmm.
The thing about being an artist, though, is that it's so layered. First of all, artists don't have money. I'm gonna just say that they don't have
They do
money.
not. They do not.
And
Mm-mm.
and I'm not trying to, shit on them for not having any money, but they don't have any money. And so what I bring to the table, they want to devalue what I bring to the table
Okay.
because they can't afford it.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's fair to me and what I put into the industry to do what I have to do. So it's like they want to pay me a couple $100s and then make them famous. And it's like it's a lot of work and it's a lot of mental energy to do
Yeah.
what I do in marketing and public relations.
Okay.
And to only invest a couple of $100s is not fair to me.
Okay.
And even if they do come to the table with some kind of money, their expectations of what you are to do with that money
They want to
is
be
a
made a
bit
celebrity overnight.
right. And PR does not make you a celebrity overnight.
Right.
It helps sets a foundation. It helps with storytelling, but there's so many things that go into um, making an artist. And it's so funny because I have a friend that I went to college with, and he actually works with Rock Nation, and we were talking about, artist development and what it takes. And he was basically, long story short, he was like, it's a formula.
Mhm.
Like, if you're trying to be a part of the major music industry, it's
Yeah.
not about being an artist. It's not about being creative. It's about following a certain formula,
Yes.
and that formula is goes beyond just being musically talented.
Yeah.
It goes as far as, the look that you have, what the clothes that you wear,
Mhm.
how your voice sounds when you talk, how you walk, how you look. Even if you're not a model, are you going to be a bohemian? Like, it's the thing. And then it's like, well, what's the sound that everyone is having, today? Like, how can you fit into that?
Right.
So it's way more to it than, and typically when larger artists get public relations, the PR that they're getting isn't because that artist is investing in a PR professional directly. The record label is
It's
paying
put,
for
yeah.
that PR
Hmm.
person.
Correct.
And so that person is getting paid their worth a
Hmm.
little bit differently than what you expect. And then that label is the one that says, okay, put a little bit more effort into this artist, and maybe put 50% towards this artist, 20% towards this artist, and 10% towards this artist. And I know that to be true because that's also what happened when I worked in marketing, when I was even though I wasn't doing PR,
Hmm.
that formula still applies. So it
Okay,
goes
so
into PR as well.
I don't want to
Hmm.
get away from
Yeah.
your previous thing because I want you to go back to
Okay.
you doing the
But
thing.
yeah, it's
But no,
not it,
that
but
makes
no,
perfect.
I don't want to work with artists. And it
That
was
makes sense.
like weird to say because I'm an artist myself, but artists are just they
Special breed. We are a special breed. Yes.
yeah, I don't want to work with artists. It's just not, as an independent, it's not worth the effort and energy for me to work with an artist.
Right.
I would drain myself if I worked with an artist. So they was like, well, why are you doing this? But remember, I told you, I said I was being intuitively led. I told God, direct me on a path. Even if I don't understand it, direct me on this path, hit it on my head. So doing these things was just something that I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I don't know how to explain it.
Hmm.
Well, now I can explain it because now I started doing those things. I started meeting other artists, developing those relationships. And from there, I met one artist, and she was a classically trained pianist, and she's done some music direction and supervision for like some mainstream artists. And I was talking to her about how I used to play the piano and how I wish I never stopped. And she's like, well, why don't you just take a piano lesson again? Like, don't force what happens. Just take a lesson and just take it from there. And I was
Right.
like, that's not a bad idea. So I signed up for piano lessons. And in my mind, I'm thinking I'm probably going to only practice when I go to my lesson. And from there, I started like really getting into it. Then I hosted one of my other events, and then I met another artist, and he was a rapper, and I was like, oh yeah, I used to rap back in the day. And he's like, for real, let me hear something. I guess he thought I was BSing, but
Right.
then I dropped the line on him, and he was like, oh, have you recorded this? And I was like, no, my friend said I can't record it until blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm gonna get you in the studio. So long story short, we ended up becoming friends, and he put me in the studio. And then it was just like little breadcrumbs. So it was like I did the events, it put me in touch with people. And while those people weren't necessarily people that I was supposed to work with, those people ended up instilling something in me that unleashed something to help me move forward
Okay.
into my artistry. And while I did not know what that was going to look like, I just started planting those seeds in like 2018, 2019. Like, okay, let me take a piano lesson. Okay, I'll go to the studio and record that song. So it's just like I'm just slowly like just I guess you can say knocking the dust off.
Okay.
Um, of something that was once put up on the shelf.
Okay.
So now I'm doing that, and then 2020 comes, and we're in lockdown. And while some people struggle with that, it was a beautiful time for me because it was finally like,
Yes.
who am I when I'm not performing a role, performing a personality for other people? And I can say, like, honestly, right before that, I had All-Star Weekend was here in Chicago.
Hmm.
And, like I said, we're for some reason taught to operate from a sense of aesthetics. Like, and so I was like, oh, I want to work on All-Star Weekend. All-Star Weekend is coming to Chicago. I need to do something with All-Star Weekend. So I
Was it
just
that coldest year that all started?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was so cold
It was
that
cold.
year.
Oh my
It was
God.
so
Yeah.
cold. So I remember like, okay, I didn't say it to anyone. I just kind of put it out into the atmosphere. And sure enough, I got brought on to work on a project for All-Star Weekend. I got what I wanted, and I was like, this is some bullshit. Like I was like, and then it was like right before that, and I remember I was working on it. I mean, it was cool in retrospect. It was cool. I'm
Right.
glad I worked on it. I'm glad I had that experience. But also at the end of the day, like you said, it was cold. I'm outside. It was a lot of people,
Yeah.
and then I'm like looking at this, and it was just I started to realize that people are full of shit. Like
Yeah.
I remember I was doing a press opportunity with a certain celebrity. And my job was to make sure that we only had select press at this event. This was in the contract of the celebrity that we had that we can only have so many people. And so, yet, when people found out that I'm like managing this, they're like, oh, can you get me into this? Can you get me? I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like, oh,
Right.
well, I'm like, no, like there's a
In
fucking
their
contract in
contract. Yeah.
place that says that I can't do this, and yet because you're so fucking greedy and that you want the clout, there's nothing going on in this room that involves you being here. Like
Right.
I'm here because I'm working, and you want to be in a room because it looks good.
Right.
But if I put you in a room, now I'm in trouble, and now we both fucking out of luck, and you want to put me in that situation just because you want a photo op.
Right.
And so it was like, I don't know, it was something about that moment that I felt that I realized people are full of shit. And
Hmm.
then even I was real like then one of the things I had to work a red carpet moment. I had to like walk a celebrity across the red carpet. And they was like, okay, Vanessa, be here at this time because he's gonna be walking at the door at this time. Let's say 10 o'clock, right? I'm
Hmm.
making a number up. So 10 o'clock comes, I'm waiting for him, looking for him. No sign of him. 10:15, 10:20. I'm like, where is he? Like, oh, I don't know. You just keep waiting. I'm like, all right. So now it's like 11 o'clock. I'm like, I've been here for a fucking hour waiting for this
Right.
person to come and he's not here. They was like, okay, well, let's call him. Why couldn't y'all call him when I said he was 30 minutes late? Y'all waited, y'all had me standing there a whole hour, but I digress.
Yeah.
And so then so they finally called. It's like, oh, he's running behind because he's at dinner with his wife for Valentine's Day because All-Star Weekend fell
I
on
remember that.
Valentine's
Yeah.
Day.
Hmm.
I was like, so nobody thought to tell me this, y'all. Like y'all, like I'm standing here at this red carpet
And
with
it's
my heels
cold.
on. No, it's inside,
Okay.
but it was inside. But I'm standing here with my heels on, my feet are hurting. I could have went and sat down, got me something to eat. But it's like, oh, so I'm like, this is foolish. Like somebody could have told me this. So
Right.
that's what I'm like going, like this whole thing is like full of shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did it. And so then, like I said, but it was also like, I'm performing.
Yeah.
So then we're in lockdown and it's like, there was like an initial fear, but then it was like, I don't have to perform anymore. Like I can take a break. And I was so tired. I didn't realize how tired I really was of just going and going and going.
Yeah.
So now that I'm sitting down, I'm closed off from the world. I don't have to show up anywhere. Now all of those things that I started to dust off, piano playing, making songs, like those are the things that just first and for, like paint, I started painting again.
In your face
And
now.
yeah, like I started painting again. I'm starting to play, I'm starting to do music and I'm doing it. And I'm like, oh, like, And I didn't claim it yet, but I just kind of let myself indulge in it.
Okay.
And then my mom passed. My mom passed November 2020. And then when that happened, it was just kind of like, and before she passed, I remember just conversations with her in the hospital, and at her bedside about things that she wished she could have done that she never got the chance to
Yeah.
do. And it was just kind of like, and she's gone, and she left me way earlier than I expected her to leave me.
Hmm.
And it was a realization that we have no idea when our last day on this earth is.
Right.
And as much as I would like to think that I will live as long as I can, I don't know. And I don't want to be on my bedside, on my final days, like, man, I wished I tried.
Right.
Because then I can at least say I tried and it didn't happen.
Hmm.
So now I'm invigorating. Then I had a mastermind group that was supposed to help businesses. And the way that this mastermind group was set up, it was supposed to get to the inner you. And in that mastermind group, part of the exercise that was showing up for me was I was an artist. And I had it internally, but I was so scared to say it out loud.
Right.
So I was trying to mold my business into something else without claiming that I was an artist.
Okay.
And then something happened. I don't know what it was. I finally claimed it. I finally claimed it. And my birthday of 2021, before my birthday, I remember telling my friend who got me into the studio, I was like, I think I'm going to do a performance for my birthday. And his response was, if you ain't the one performing it, you don't need to be the one doing it. And I was like, no, it is gonna be me. And he was like, all right then. And and then when I said it, I was like, oh shit, like I just
It's
said I'm
real.
about
This
to
is
do a
real.
performance. So I did this coming out performance where I played the piano, I sung, I rapped. It's on YouTube somewhere if you want to find it. I'm not gonna send you the link, but if you find it, you find it. But it's out there.
I've seen it.
And it was so scary, but then but then that unleashed something. So
Right.
then somebody was like, now you need to do open mics. And so then I started doing open mics. And then my niece, on the other side with the art, I was doing art with my niece who's also an artist as well. And she's like, I want us to take an art class together. So I was like, okay. Then I talked to my art teacher from college. She's like, yeah, take an art class.
Hmm.
So now I'm taking art classes and they like, oh, you're kind of good. And like, no, you're really good. And I was like, for real? Like, okay, well, let's see what this is like. So it was just like little things that led
Okay.
me back to that
So
just
who
let
you
and
really
it was
were.
just kind of like this is and then it was like weird because then when I was kind of excited to show people who I was. Like, hey guys, I finally realized that this is who I was, but I forgot it. And nobody believed me. Everybody thought that I was full of
Right.
shit. They was like, everyone thought that I just woke up one day and decided I'm going to be an artist. Kind of like, if you've seen Legally Blonde and people
Yes.
thought, oh, I'm just going to be a lawyer. Like, no, this is who the fuck I was before I met you.
Right.
Just because I didn't show it to you doesn't mean that's not who I am.
Okay. So so I have two questions because we've had several conversations about your journey and where you are now and the pathway that took to it. So my first question is, what was the internal conflict that you had with yourself as an artist, owning that title, and coming back to the mainstay of this is who I've always been. However, I've chosen another path because it was what everybody expected. It was comfortable and all that other stuff. So, what was that conflict that you was having? That's one question. Then I'll come back to my second question later. Go. Let's go.
So the first question is just exactly what you said. It was I had marketed myself as this public relations professional, and I did it out of survival. I mean,
Right.
I wasn't aware of it at the time,
Hmm.
but in that moment, this is what I have to do to survive. This is what's making me money, and I'll be honest, that's the only reason I'm still doing it.
Okay.
And I was working with artists, I was around artists, but I never told them about my artistry, mainly because I hadn't did it in so long. So it's like, well, if you haven't done it, then you're not a real artist.
Right.
That was just kind of the sense that I got.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, there were, people that made me feel like I
Yeah.
didn't have a
Yeah.
right to be an artist. They was like, oh, you're not for, like, oh, you're not like us. So yeah, it was the fact that it was like a imposter syndrome. It was like I had been this person, I'd shown up this way, and I've lost friends over this. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, this is like, it doesn't seem like it's that deep, but I literally lost friends. Like, I remember I was friends with a group of girls. Well, that friendship loss is a little bit layered, but that's part of it.
Okay.
And I remember telling them, like, this is what, like, coming to the realization, like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. And they just brushed it off. And I remember, like, another friend, I told them, and they acted like they understood. But then when they tried to put me in this box again, I was like, no, remember, I'm moving into this realm. And
Right.
they was like, oh, you're just saying that because you're frustrated with your clients right now. And I was like, I was very vulnerable in exposing to you that this is a journey that I'm about to go on, which took me over a year.
Right.
to acknowledge before I even said it out loud. And now that I said it out loud, you put me in this box. And then I remember we was playing this game, and the game was like, oh, what does your friend love about you or something, or what do they admire about you? And I was like, oh, I would love to see like what heartwarming things they're going to say. Their responses was all the things that I've done professionally. Oh, you used to work at Johnson
Oh,
Publishing
wow.
Company, and you were the director of this company. Like everything that they said was about my career accolades and nothing about me as
Oh,
a
wow.
person. And this was like the red flags before the friendship ended.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we have like there's another friend that I've, known for years. And then when I started becoming an artist, he had a lot of opinions
Right.
about what I was doing. And the funny thing about it was he encouraged me to do it. And then when I did it, it was a lot of backlash, and it definitely wasn't a support. And it was like a lot of conclusions made about how I was going about it without even a conversation with me,
Hmm.
without even playing a role. And so, yeah, it was a lot of people, like the people around me didn't, I'm telling them like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a support group.
Um,
It's like I have another friend, he says addition by subtraction.
yeah.
So those people had to fall off so
Hmm.
other people can come in that really could see me for who I am and
Um,
nurture that part of me.
you, and this is gonna be my last question because we've had this conversation several times, but one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on and have this conversation with you because all that you said in terms of you finally accepting and realizing that you are an artist, you're a creative, you're a painter, you're a rapper, you're a singer, all of that comes into the realm of people putting you into a box because they think artists are just one type as well as being multi-layered. And we've had the conversation on several aspects of, going back to what your experiences and stuff in public relations, in the marketing, in the industry, and all of that, how there is a formula. If you want to go mainstream, there's a formula. Brought you on here to talk about there are so many ways to be an artist. It looks so many different ways. There's not just one cookie cutter that applies to being an artist or creative. So talk about that.
So, first, let's define what it means to be a successful artist.
Mhm.
What people consider a successful artist is you're number one on the Billboard charts. You are on a major record label. Your name is a household name, and you drive $1 million cars. You got $1 million homes. That's the level of success. But let's go outside of the music business, right? You would consider someone successful if they had a nice house in a suburb somewhere, maybe drove a BMW, maybe just a nice Honda Accord. Like that would be considered also successful if you're not thinking in terms of the music industry,
Right.
right? And so I think people think in order to be a successful musician or successful artist in any capacity, you have to be number one on the Billboard charts, have 10 Grammys, have the $1 million home. But I think they overlook, well, what does it look like if I'm an artist and I'm just able to sustain myself as an
Right.
artist, even though I'm not a household name?
Right.
And I think that's where things get murky. Like I have a friend who literally makes, I didn't know, and I just recently found this out. He literally makes money playing basketball
Mhm.
and he's not in the NBA. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I get paid to play basketball. And I'm like, that's a thing? And he's
Right.
like, yeah. And so I think people look at this is the marquee, this is the thing. And if I'm going to be successful, this is the thing. And I remember when I was in college, there was this man and he was a jazz violinist. And only people in the southern region knew who this man was. I did not know who, being from Chicago, I did not know who this man was, never heard of him. No one I knew have heard of him. But in that southern Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, area, they knew who this man was. And he was very popular. I would say he was successful. Didn't have $1 million home, but he had a nice house in the South, maybe in the
Right.
suburbs somewhere, had a nice crib. He had an audience that followed him, that was dedicated to him. He could do a tour, and that audience is going to support him. And I think so many musicians look for everyone to support them as
Right.
opposed to realizing, no, like figure out who your audience is. And that's actually how small businesses work. Like that's how a business works. Like you have to look at your artistry as a business.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to build a business, you don't go like, oh, I'm starting my business and everyone's going to know who I am. You're like, okay, let me start my business. Okay, let me work the block. Okay, I work the block. Okay, now that I work the block, let me work this 8 mile radius. Okay, now that like you scale.
Right.
Artists don't do, and you figure out like, and then as you scaling, you try to do what you can to maintain an audience that supported you from day one.
Right.
Like, okay, my audience likes this, my audience, doesn't like that. And what I've seen from a lot of musicians is that they're chasing this golden nugget
Hmm.
and they have a following, but they're not building on their following that they have already. Even I have done it to some extent. And like I have a friend, the one that put me in the studio, and I saw that he had a following. He had a solid following that liked his sound. And I was like, but you're ignoring that audience. And what people don't realize is if you cater to your audience is going to go and get someone else. And they're going to like, hey, I like this. You might like it too. Let me, take you to this show. And then you build on that. And then they be like, hey, and then you just keep building on that. But we don't do that. We go from 5 to 5 million.
Right.
And and it's like, wait a minute. And it's like, and then we don't listen to what our audience want. We listen to what mainstream tells us what to do.
Correct. Correct.
And it's so funny because at the time,
You what would you say has been your best experience? Okay, two parts. What has been the high of coming into your artistry, and what has been the low aspect of it?
the high, there's not a one moment. It's like, but the high is knowing I'm a curse. So sorry, social media.
We are adults. I put it out here. The children don't need to be listening to it, but if they listen to it, that's their parents' business. But we are adults.
The high is that as I keep navigating and as I keep meeting new people, the high is there are people that actually do fuck with me as an artist.
Hmm.
Like if when I once I stop trying to convince the people that already know me that this is who I am and just focused on new people and they were like, oh, well, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I do this. They like, oh, you're great. Like if you like the people that have no like reference list of what I've done prior to them meeting me actually receive me as an artist. Like
Right.
of course, as Erica Badu says, you're an artist and you're sensitive about your shit,
Yeah.
so I'm always still very like, oh, am I good?
Mhm.
But I have yet, I mean, of course, there's some people that just don't rock with my, with what I put out because art is extremely subjective, no matter if it's music
Right.
theater, visual arts, whatever, like someone's not going to like you. But majority of the time, like people rock with what I put out.
Mhm.
So that's the high. The low is that the people that know me and are still with, it's like I've been doing this for 2020 is 2025. So it's been 5 years
Okay.
that I've been consistent in doing this. And not only have I consistently been doing this, I actually have a resume before them knowing me, and they still just want to put me in this box. Like I did an art show last year, like the end of last year, and somebody that I know who's also in the corporate world and is
Mhm.
also an artist had the audacity to send me a message And when I was promoting my art show, like, hey guys, come check out my art show. And their response to me in a DM was, your art show? Question mark. I'm like, it says my art show and
Right.
has
My
my
name is
name
on
on
it.
it. And I'm just like, how am I supposed to take that? Like,
Right.
and I know this person, if I was to call that person out
Hmm.
and be like, what you trying, if I was to be for real, be like, what you trying to say? Like if I got real rolling on them, like what you trying to say? Like what you
Right.
trying to say? Then they be like, oh no, they're gonna be like, oh no,
They're
I
gonna
didn't
be
mean anything
backpedaling.
by it.
Hmm.
But it's that undercut thing. And then it was like also somebody who I saw last year too. And this person walked up to me and was like, oh, yeah, I've been seeing what you're doing. You're trying to do the arts thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, so you see it. He's
Right.
like, yeah. I'm like, but you don't engage on none of my content where I say that. So you just admitted that you're watching me and you know that this is what I'm doing, but you haven't liked one thing. So he pulls up his phone and I'm like, no, you don't have to do it now. And it was like a liquor event. So I was a little inebriated. So I was a little bit more
The truth
I
was
was
coming out a
right.
little bit
I
more.
was a little bit more
It
like,
was
yo, like don't
flowing.
do that.
It
Yeah,
was flowing.
yeah, sober Vanessa is a little bit more buttoned up and I just watch you and I take notes and don't say that I'm taking notes. But in that moment, I was like I said, I was a little inebriated. The drinks was free and flowing. And I was like, no, so you really like I was like, dude, you really acknowledging that you see what I'm doing and you have yet to like support
Right.
anything that I've done. I haven't seen a comment, a like, or nothing on any of my posts that say that. But you're directly coming to me saying you see me. You
Mhm.
see me doing this. And that's when he pulled out his phone, like, oh, well, let me start. I'm like, don't start liking pictures and
Right.
things like that now because you're in front of me. It's bull. Like you won't, and that's kind of like the thing about it, but it's not really a bad thing because it's kind of like it's better to see the devil that you're dealing with than to have it be behind you. So it's like this phase is just letting me see who people really are, and it's letting me know who was rocking with me because of what they. This is the thing
You well,
about me being in marketing and PR and being an artist. With me being in marketing and PR, people see me as a resource to help them.
help
If
them.
I'm an
Yep.
artist,
Hmm.
I'm not a resource to them.
Yep.
And so they don't support me being an artist because if I'm operating from this is who I am, then I'm not operating from a space that supports who they are.
Hmm.
And so it's this juggling act of, hey, I've given my energy to putting so many other people in the forefront. Now it's time to put myself in the forefront. And it's like, oh, how dare you take that energy and put yourself in the forefront when you're
Right.
supposed to take that energy and make me
Yes.
famous? Yeah,
Yep.
that's it's like so that's the bad thing about it, but it's not the bad thing about it because it's like I see who you are. And I
Right.
don't say anything about it. So if anybody sees this and you played that game with me, I know it. I took note about it. I just haven't said anything. I'm just
Correct.
looking at you and judging you in my head.
We are judging. We are certainly judging. But no, it brings a good um perspective to the forefront because a lot of people are they do try to drain you. They try to take all of that they can get from you because, like you're saying, you're promoting them, you're putting them up on a pedestal. But when it's now time for you to focus on yourself, you really see who the folks that are there for you and who really support you, rock with you, and even put out the encouraging vibes. Because I know from personal experiences, when you actually step into the role of who you are and they want to keep you limited, like for you, for example, like, no, you PR, you're not an artist. If you're encroaching on their territory or where their lane is, folks folks get real intimidated and guarded by that because we all for the most part have our own securities and our own shit that we're going through, but when they know that on the other side you bring the light to your PR and now you're about to come to the art side and they know that you got a resume on the PR side, they're like, oh, she about to fuck up the game on the other side. oh shit, this don't make no kind of sense. And they actually, you start seeing their true colors. So I completely understand where you're coming from. Keep doing your shit because you
And
are
I'm gonna be
great.
honest too. I mean, they should be scared. At first, I was playing modest. I was playing
Mhm.
humble. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, don't like. I'm just trying to come up. I'm getting my footing. And I was playing small, but like, no, like, be scared because I
Yeah.
know how to do both, and
Hmm.
you don't. And I tried to teach y'all how to do both, and y'all didn't want to
Right.
listen to me. And I haven't even merged both of them yet.
Right. That's the thing. That,
I haven't even done it yet.
yep.
So
Because I,
wait until so when I get good and ready to, okay, I know how to do both. I
mhm,
know how to do PR myself. I know business, I know art, and I know business. I know strategy. I know how to market.
right.
If I know how to do it for somebody else, damn sure I know how to do it for myself.
Correct. Because the thing
And
is that I've learned is that we're taught, especially within the States and special Western culture, you're taught to be either or. You have to choose a lane and stay there. But because you are a very multi-layered person, multi-talented, multi-creative, you know how to switch effortlessly back and forth between worlds, between cultures, between all that other stuff. And people, because they don't hone that skill, that other craft, they scared. They fucking scared. As like you said, as they should be.
And then the thing too, I remember last year, like everyone's like, "Oh, you need to pick one thing," and I'm like,
Oh,
and I understand why they say that because for them, they can't do more than one thing at one time, so it doesn't make sense that I know how to do one thing. Like, no, I effortlessly go from 2 o'clock, I'm doing one thing, 3 o'clock,
yep.
I'm doing something completely different. I literally did a play where I played three personalities in one role,
Yes,
and it
you
was
did. Let's talk about that.
and it's so
Yes.
funny because I was talking to somebody and they saw sweet little Vanessa. And I was like, and I was talking to them and I was like, and I saw a girl the other day and she was in a play with me. And I was like, oh yeah, I play her drug addict, abusive mother. And it was like, what? And I was like, yes, I was her drug addict, abusive mother.
Right.
And it's like, you must be a good actress if you know, like, I'm looking at you now and I cannot see you portraying a drug addict. And I was like, well, that's what
That's what it is.
acting is.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I remember because I remember after the play, I felt the way, but now I'm kind of like honoring it. No one talked to me after the play. Like, you know how everyone sees like all the actors after the play. No one
Uh-huh.
like really talked to me. But then I was like, oh, nobody liked what I did until somebody was like, oh, wait a minute. You played the mother. And I was like, yeah, she was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't recognize that that was you. So I was like, oh, they're not talking to me because they don't
They
recognize
don't
that
recognize you. Yeah.
this is me and who I was on stage was a
They think
completely
you just
different
a,
person.
they think you just a back help. They be like, oh, she was just a stage hand.
Yeah,
No, I was
yeah,
mother.
they didn't realize it was me.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Okay, I don't know how long it's gonna last, but let's talk about that. How did you get into that role? How did that uncover? What did that show you about yourself? Yeah, let's do that.
How I got into that role. So last year, I went to a networking event and I ran into a woman who has a series on Tubi.
Okay.
And we both had got like an award. We didn't get it at the same time, but it was like a reception for all the women who had got this certain award.
Okay.
And so she had did this show that was on Tubi, and she did like a rendition of that show on stage where I had played the piano. It was like a holiday special of it, and I played the piano. So I saw her at the event and I didn't know who she was. We were just talking and I put two and together. I was like, oh, wait, I know who you are. I played the piano in your production this past Christmas. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, and I wasn't playing this year, but I was like, well, if you need anything, I'm more than happy to, jump on stage. I just put myself out there. I was like, if you need
Right.
somebody on stage, she's like, well, actually, I have this one scene. It's a Soul Train scene. We need some Soul Train dancers. Can you be an extra and be my Soul Train dancer? I'm like, sure. I love, I'll get on stage and act a fool. Of course. So I went and did that role, and I was like, I'm gonna play, even though nobody know who I am, I'm play the hell out this role. And
Right.
it was so interesting because I remember like people were like, you was in the Soul Train scene. I was like, yeah. So, and I posted the pictures and it was just something I did for fun, but it also lit something up in me. So
Okay.
like right after I had did that play, and it was like more like a sketch play, like more like a series of skits than an actual
Okay.
play. And it was fun. So I had did that, and then I felt like someone sent me auditions for another thing. It's like, well, if you enjoyed that, here's an audition for
Okay.
this other play. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, it asked for headshot and resume. So I went ahead and put something together because even though I hadn't had an extensive acting career, I did take acting in college and I did work in theater. I did sound engineering and whatnot. So I was like, I've done some stuff. I didn't realize it's like I'm one of those people that do things and I just do them and I don't realize that I'm accumulating a resume. So I
Right.
put together an actor resume, put together a headshot and, on Canva, submitted it. And they was like, okay, cool. This is your audition date. This is what you need to prepare a monologue. Come in at this day, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the day of the audition, I was so tired. I was so tired. I was like, I'm not gonna go. And then something was like, Vanessa, just go. Like, just go. Um, because at least if you don't get it, you at least tried.
Right.
So I was like, okay, fine. So I went in, and I don't know, something when I got there, something in me lit up, and um I woke up and I just came with it. And I got a call back immediately. And they was like, what role you want? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just said, I don't know. I said, I'm here to play whatever role you think fits me. Like I'm not here to claim a role. I would like to fit with where you think my talents will best,
Okay.
suit the production. And they was like, okay, and they gave me the size that they wanted me to read. And I did the callback. So I did the callback. It was all day. And I was definitely the girl at the audition that everybody remembered because I remember, because I was just being silly but I was being silly because it was a long day and I can't sit still. I got ADHD. So did the auditions and it was an all day thing. And then I got another call back. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So did the next call back and I was like, I might get this. I didn't get it, but I got the understudy role. So I became the understudy for three characters in the play. And so immediately they was like, well, you don't have to come to all the auditions. I mean, not all the auditions, all the rehearsals. And I was
Okay.
like, no, I'm coming to the rehearsals. And so I came to rehearsal, well, first table read, and I sat in the back. Second time I come in, the director's like, Vanessa, sit at the table. Like, okay. So then I'm like, I'm at the table and she knows my name. And then and I really wanted to be a part of this play because it was some names associated with this play.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'm at the table. And then long story short, like some of the characters, the actresses who I was understudying for, it was like immediately I had to fill in for them inadvertently. So I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm not trying to just sit at the side. Let me jump in and help where I can. And so after that, the director, she took notice of me and some other understudies that were doing the same thing. And so she created ensemble roles for us where we would be on stage and not speak. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool because now I can, because as an understudy, you may never see the stage,
Correct.
so like you're doing all this work and you may never see the stage. So her creating ensemble roles for us was like really amazing. Then another actress, she ended up taking a role in another production, but I wasn't her understudy. It was another girl that was her understudy. She stepped up, but they divided her role because she had like a role where she played two characters. And so I took one of the characters and her understudy took the other character. But then something happened where I ended up having to fill in.
Okay.
And it was a result of me just showing up. And so that's why I said like when people take people, and it was also a role where I realized my professional background does help me as an artist
Mhm.
because that professionalism, showing up into a room, being ready, being willing to fill in where where you have to fill in, like, okay, well, this needs to be done. The person that needs to do this isn't here. I'm not going to wait for somebody to tell me to do it.
Right.
and so just being ready, I ended up being one of the supporting leads
Right.
of the play, and that's how it happened.
And it was amazing. I remember sitting with you and doing the read throughs, which was funny as hell. But like you really, I remember the whole process with you and how you went from a whole understudy to playing like one of the main characters, and you learned them parts in record time. Like you was on your shit.
I still
Like
can't believe I did that. I was
it
like,
was
out of
wild. It was wild as hell. It
I
was,
would say my
yeah.
hand was hurting because I was writing. I literally, so one of the
Yeah,
things I did, if anybody's watching this, I literally wrote my lines over and over and over again. I had hand cramps because I'm literally writing. Like I would work, go to rehearsal, come home, and just write my lines, just write them so I could remember them.
yeah. It was wild. And then going through the process of, because even you learned some of the other character stuff because you wanted to make sure that the transition was smooth when you came in with your parts and stuff. So your dedication and everything to that was amazing. And it certainly paid off from it. So I know that it's going to be more stuff coming from this. Like you're just a fabulous artist, creative woman. So I know some more amazing stuff is going to come from all this. So that makes
I
me
know I'm itching to perform again too. I'm trying to figure out the space because I'm ready to perform again.
okay. Has
I
there
am ready to
other
perform
things
again.
that you've been looking at that you've been trying to connect with?
No, so the marketing and PR part of my life has kind of taken over
Okay.
this year so far, and I'm trying to find the balance to get back to my artistry. I have indulged in my artistry, like I've been able to showcase my artwork
Mhm.
in some places. I'm in the South Suburban College Choir and I've performed with them and done some piano recitals, but I haven't done anything like that really showcases me real on a bigger stage.
Okay.
So I do need to like sit down and look at some auditions. That's because I do get the emails for auditions. I just haven't had the time or the space to look at those and prepare for them. But I'm ready. I do have something coming up though,
Okay.
a little screen thing, which is a result of some, like I just got an email yesterday, it was like, hey, we're doing this. Do you want to do it?
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah. So one thing I have to say about the play. I don't know who told me about the play that I auditioned for.
Right.
I don't, I've been trying to backtrack that who gave that to me so I can thank them. I can't find a person. So I was like, maybe God sent it to me. I don't know.
We gonna go.
So,
It was very much ordained in purpose, because
and so I
from
say
that,
that to say when you move in your purpose,
yeah.
and I think that's something that I've tried as a public relations professional that has worked with artists. I do like working with artists from a consultation standpoint. And one of the things that I noticed working with artists from a consultation standpoint is a lot of them have a fear of working intuitively.
Yeah.
A lot of them are trying to follow the formula
Hmm.
of what it's supposed to look like as an artist. But I would say a lot of my opportunities came from moving in alignment. Like, yes, I do have to audition, but sometimes it's like, sometimes it's kind of like a job. Every job that I've applied for, I've never gotten.
Right.
The jobs that I have gotten have been referral based,
Mhm.
but you still apply for the jobs because it's setting you putting the energy in motion for what you want to do. But
Correct.
in reality, the opportunities come from you being in alignment and people referring you. And I think that's the same with the opportunities. Like I was telling somebody, it was like, wait, so you mean to tell me you auditioned for something and you immediately got it? And I was like, well, I was the understudy. And I'll be honest, it was something in me that I felt like I was going to be on stage. Like I couldn't say it out loud in that moment because I didn't want to jinx it and I didn't want to sound like I was being, overly obnoxious or anything like or
Right.
arrogant.
Yeah.
But there was something about me that felt like I'm gonna be on stage. And I think you said it too. I think you was like, you're gonna end
Yeah.
up being on that stage.
I remember that. I that just that time period itself, because of all the other stuff that was happening in your space, and with the work and all that, and the way everything just came about, you had a lot of time to devote to this project. And it was just like, yeah, you're gonna be on stage. I with the some of the people that you were working with, I was like, I don't want to use
Shh,
it.
they might see this. Stop.
Not gonna do that. But I was like, we're not gonna do the fettuccine thing, but we're not gonna do the Alfred. But I just knew it that something was gonna come up, and it did. It worked out. So yeah, we gonna move on. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. But I want to say again, thank you, ma'am, for your time. You are as beautiful as ever. I appreciate you and your energy, your smile. It's been wonderful having you and chatting up with you. We're gonna do it again.
Thank you. Yeah, we do need to do a part two, but yeah, this is the note to end on. We'll end it on this one
We gonna end it on this
before
one. We definitely gonna end on this.
before you get me in trouble.
Bye. No, let me stop recording right now though.